Sold for a sip. Rain was falling hard over the metal rooftops of Sector 12. The streets were dirty and dark. Neon signs blinked above broken buildings. In the middle of this chaos, a man walked with a girl beside him. His hands shook. His eyes were red. He smelled of old liquor. Her name was Aliyah. She was only 17, but her face looked older because of pain. She didn't speak. She didn't ask where they were going. She already knew. They stopped outside a small, rusty door. On the wall, it said, "Trade Zone Nitrogen Monoxide questions asked." The man knocked twice. A hatch opened. Cold eyes looked out. "You have it?" The voice inside asked. The man pulled Aliyah forward by her arm. "She's strong. Big bones. Not good for breeding. But she's healthy. Give me the bottle." The door opened. With a loud creak, a tall man with cybernetic eyes stepped out. He held a glowing bottle filled with blue liquid. "One sip," the trader said, showing the bottle. "That's all you want?" The man nodded fast. "Just one. That's enough." Aliyah didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked down. The trade was made. Her stepfather drank the blue liquid like it was water in the desert. His hands stopped shaking. He smiled, his eyes empty. Then he walked away, never turning back. The trader looked at Aliyah. "You'll come with me now." She followed. She had no choice. Inside the building, it was colder. The lights flickered. She saw cages, metal beds, and wires hanging from the walls. A few other girls sat in silence. None of them looked at each other. "Sit," the trader said. Pointing to a corner, no noise, no questions, Aliyah sat. Her body was heavy, not just from size but from fear. Hours passed. Maybe more. Then another woman entered the room. She was tall, with silver hair and a deep scar on her cheek. She looked different from the others, strong, sharp eyes. She walked straight to Aliyah. "Name?" the woman asked. "Aliyah. Age?" 17. The woman looked at the trader. "She's the one?" He nodded. "Body too large. Disqualified from breed program. Stepdad sold her cheap. Useless to the system." The woman smiled a strange smile. That's what they all say. Until they see what's inside. Aliyah's eyes narrowed. "Inside?" The woman leaned closer. "You're not weak, Aliyah. You were made to look weak. That's the trick. You think your body is a problem, but it's a gift." Aliyah looked confused. Her whole life, she had been told the opposite. "You don't understand," she said. "They called me broken, ugly, too wide, too soft to carry a perfect child." The woman's voice turned sharp. "Their idea of perfect is a lie. They want girls like glass thin, empty, easy to break. But you are full, strong. You were never meant to breed. You were meant to fight." Aliyah blinked. "Fight what?" The woman stood tall. "The ones who built this broken world." That night, Aliyah was taken to a hidden room underground. It was cleaner, brighter. There were no cages here. Only books, maps, and strange machines. Other girls were there too. Some older, some younger, all different sizes. All rejected. A screen turned on. A voice spoke. "Welcome to the silent resistance. If you are here, it means you were thrown away. But you are not trash. You are truth." Aliyah felt something inside her shift. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't useless. Maybe she was chosen. But then something strange happened. One of the machines near her blinked red. A soft alarm beeped. The silver-haired woman looked shocked. She rushed to the screen. "What is it?" Aliyah asked. The woman stared at the result. "Your blood," she whispered. "It's reacting. No, it's waking up." Everyone turned to look. "What does it mean?" Aliyah asked again, this time louder. The woman looked directly at her. "It means," she said slowly, "you are not like the others." Aliyah stepped back. Her heart was racing. Then What am I? The woman smiled, but her eyes were serious. You're something we haven't seen in years. Something the government thought they erased. You're not just too big to breed ... She paused. You're too powerful to control. Elia had no idea how long she had slept. When she woke up, everything smelled too clean. The floor was smooth. The walls glowed soft white. No more metal cages. No more noise. Just silence. She sat up fast, heart racing. This wasn't the dirty trade post. This was something else. A soft voice came from above. Welcome, Subject 12. You are safe. Please remain calm. Alia stood. Her bare feet touched warm tiles. The room had no windows. No doors, just four walls. And a mirror. She walked to the mirror, slowly. But something was wrong. The mirror wasn't showing her reflection. Instead, it showed her inside bones, heart, strange glowing lines moving under her skin. What is this? She whispered. The wall shifted. A hidden door opened. Two people walked in, one woman, one man. Both wore white coats. Their eyes were calm, too calm. Machines floated behind them. The woman spoke first. Don't be afraid. You're in Sanctum 9 now. Alia backed away. Where are the other girls? The scarred woman? She brought you here, the man said. Then she left. She's not allowed in this part. Not anymore. Alia narrowed her eyes. What do you want from me? The woman walked closer, holding a silver device. Your body, she said softly, is not ordinary. It carries something ancient, something we thought was lost. What does that mean? Alia asked. The lights flickered for a moment. Your DNA, the man said, has a mutation not failed but hidden, protected under layers of fat and muscle, a code built to survive anything. Alia looked down at her hands. They didn't feel special. I'm just big, she said quietly. Too big for breeding. That's what they said. The woman smiled faintly. That's exactly why it worked. You were never supposed to be a breeder. You were a vault. Alia blinked. A vault? Your body was made to protect a power. The man explained. A code the government tried to erase 100 years ago, but it lived inside people like you. People they called ... defective. Alia shook her head. This doesn't make sense. Why would they hide it? The woman's voice turned cold. Because that power could break their world. They led her into a new room. It looked like a medical lab, except nothing here looked normal. Chambers lined the walls, each one filled with glowing liquid. Inside floated girls, dozens of them, all different shapes and sizes, all sleeping. What is this place? Alia asked, stunned. This is the hidden archive, the man said. We don't save bodies, we save secrets. Alia looked closer. One of the girls opened her eyes for just a second, bright gold and glowing, then darkness again. A loud alarm suddenly blared. The scientists froze. One of the machines flashed red. A signal unreadable by normal eyes was being transmitted. Who did that? The woman asked sharply. The man looked at Alia. Her hands were glowing. Bright, white-blue veins lit up under her skin. I didn't do anything. Alia shouted, stepping back. You activated it just by standing near. The man said in shock. The walls began to rumble. Suddenly, the woman with silver hair, Captain Sarah, burst through a side door, holding a strange gun. Her face was dirty, angry. I knew they'd test her, she yelled. Alia, come with me, now. The scientist stepped forward. She's not ready. Her body will collapse. Sarah shot the gun in the air. Sparks flew. You don't care about her. You care about what's inside her. Alia looked between them. Why did you bring me here? She asked Sarah, almost whispering. Sarah pointed at the nearest chamber. Because that's what they'll do to you. Trap you in a tank. Feed off your power. Alia's heart pounded. I don't know what's inside me. Sarah walked over and took her hand. You don't need to know. You just need to choose who you trust. Alia looked into her eyes, and she chose. They ran behind them. The room exploded in sirens and lights. Guards yelled. More chambers opened. As they reached the exit tunnel, Sarah tossed a small device into the hallway. It exploded, sealing the lab behind them. In the dark tunnel, Sarah turned to her. They lied to you, Alia. They said you were too soft, too big, useless. Alia breathed hard. Then what am I? Sarah smiled, wiping blood from her cheek. You're a weapon. Dark tunnels stretched below the city like veins under dead skin. Alia and Sarah walked in silence, boots splashing in shallow water. Every step echoed like a memory they didn't want to hear. Alia's heart was still beating too fast. Her hands were still glowing, just a little, but enough to scare her. I don't understand, she said softly. Why did they test me? What did they want? Sarah didn't answer right away. She stopped walking and pulled out a small device. It opened like a flower, projecting a hologram onto the tunnel wall. It showed a face smiling. Clean, perfect. President Halrin. The same man seen on every government screen, every coin, every school wall. Do you trust this man? Sarah asked. Alia looked at the image. No, she said. Good, Sarah replied. Because this man tried to erase your kind from history. They reached a hidden chamber. An old power station turned into a secret base. The walls were covered in maps, old news files, pictures of missing girls. In the center, a machine hummed. It looked broken, but inside it held truth. Sarah turned to Alia. You want to know why they called you unfit? Alia nodded. SERH connected the machine to her wrist. The screen came alive with data, old reports, deleted files, forbidden history. Years ago, Sarah began, humans learned how to design the perfect baby. Height, skin, weight, brain power, even emotions. It was called the Breed Project. Alia stared. I've heard of it. Schools say it saved humanity. Sarah shook her head. It didn't save us. It chained us. The government made a law. Only certain bodies can breed. Others are rejected. Like mine? Alia asked. Sarah nodded. But here's the part they hide. The rejected ones weren't broken. They were natural survivors, bodies with hidden strength, minds that resisted control. The screen showed more. Girls like Alia, strong, all erased from records. They didn't fit the design. Sarah continued. So the government declared them dangerous, called them too big, too emotional, too unstable. But in truth, they were immune to control. Alia whispered, so they called us useless. To hide their fear? Sarah smiled bitterly. Exactly. Alia stepped closer to the screen. Then why am I still alive? Sarah tapped another file. Because your body carries gene V3R, a rare code only found in the original human line. We believe your mother had it. Maybe her mother too. Somehow it survived. Alia blinked. Gene V3R? Sarah looked serious. We call it the Verity Code, the code of truth. The screen changed again. Now it showed something darker. A lab, scientists, cryochambers, girls floating in liquid. Project Purity, Sarah said. A secret program. The government is harvesting your kind, not killing them, just using them. Draining them. Alia turned pale. They're alive? Barely, Sarah replied. But not for long. Once your energy runs out, they dump you. Like garbage. Alia stepped back. Her mind raced. They said I couldn't breed. So they sold me. But I wasn't broken. I was valuable. Yes, Sarah said. And they'll come for you again. A siren wailed in the distance. Sarah turned off the machine. Lights flickered. They found us, she said. We have to move. Alia followed her to a narrow shaft. Sarah climbed first. I'm not ready, Alia said, breath shaking. Sarah looked down. No one is. But you're not just a survivor. Now you're a key. To what? Sarah smiled faintly. To unlock what they fear most, a future they can't control. As they reached the surface, Alia saw the sky for the first time in days. It was dark, covered in dust and red light. But for some reason, it didn't feel hopeless. It felt like the beginning. Back inside the government control center, President Halran watched the footage from Sanctum 9, Alia's body glowing. The machines. Failing. She activated it. One of the generals said. Halran leaned forward. Impossible. She's not just a carrier, the general whispered. She's a trigger. Halran stood slowly, voice cold. Find her. Before she finds the others. The resistance base was hidden inside a broken mining satellite, floating just outside Earth's control zone. From the outside it looked abandoned. Inside, it held something far more powerful than weapons. It held the forgotten. Alia stood in a wide hall, surrounded by strangers. Girls of different heights, colors, scars. None of them looked like each other, but all had one thing in common. They were labeled broken. Now they were soldiers in the making. Listen up, barked a voice from above. A short woman with metal arms stepped onto the platform. Her name was Commander Thresk, and she didn't believe in kindness. You're here because they said you were useless, she said. Too wide, too weak, too loud, too strange. She spat on the floor. They were wrong. Her metal hand pointed to Alia. You, the spark girl. You think glowing veins make you special? They don't. You can't even control it. Alia's fists tightened. This isn't about power, Thresk continued. This is about control. You don't master your mind, you burn from the inside. Training was brutal, not just physical, mental. They strapped Alia into a memory simulation. Chair. Face your past, they told her. Only then can you shape your future. Suddenly, she was back in her stepfather's house. The empty table, the cracked mirror. The night he told her, "You'll never be anything." Her hands started glowing again out of pain. Not strength, error, emotion overload. The simulation shut down. She collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Later in the dorm, she sat with 3 other girls, Sarah Lynn. Born without a voice, but with telepathic thoughts. Dasha, covered in burns from failed enhancement tests, she could heat metal with her skin. And Nova, who claimed she could talk to machines. But only when no one watched. We're not super, Dasha said once. We're just leftovers. Alia looked at them. No, she said softly. We're what's left after they took everything else. One night while everyone slept, Alia couldn't. The glowing in her body had changed. It didn't burn anymore. It whispered. She walked alone to the far chamber, the one they called the Echo Room. Inside was an old AI core, too ancient to work, too strange to destroy. But as Alia stepped in, the screen turned on. Voice detected. Sequence unlocked. Her heart froze. A soft recording played. It was a woman's voice, shaky, tired, but warm. If you're hearing this, you carry my blood. They hunted us. But you were born different. Your body will protect you, your mind, that will betray you if you let fear in. They will try to train you like a weapon. But remember, you are not their weapon. You are your own. My name was Elia. I was your mother. Alia's knees gave out. Tears filled her eyes. She had no memory of this woman, and yet her voice made something inside her feel. Hold. Next day, during combat drills, Thresk shouted, "Channel your strength." Alia stood still. I don't want to fight like them, she said. I don't want to win their way. Thresk marched toward her. Then how will you survive? Alia looked up, fire in her eyes. By remembering who I am. That night, Sarah gave Alia a mission. There's a breeding facility outside Zone 6. We've tracked hundreds of stolen girls there. You've seen the chambers. Alia nodded. You'll go in. Quiet, get proof. Maybe free some of them. If you can. Alia asked. Alone? Sarah smiled. No, you'll take the outcasts. As the team suited up, Dasha grinned. We're not soldiers. Alia clipped her boots. No, we're the mistake they never saw coming. The ship lifted off into the dark. Behind them, Earth rotated slowly, still blind to the storm that was coming. The ship landed in complete silence. No lights. No sirens. Just still air and distant machines breathing underground. Alia and her team crouched at the edge of Breeding Facility 9, a place spoken of in fear, never in full detail. No cameras worked here. No signals left this zone. They called it the Hollow. Dasha whispered, smells like chemicals and fear. Nova placed her hand on the metal floor. Her eyes fluttered. The machines are scared too. Alia nodded. Stay focused, in, out. No hero moves. They moved like ghosts through the underground halls. No guards. No scientists. Just silence and flickering white lights. Too easy. They reached a chamber, labeled Biostorage Class X subjects. Inside were dozens of pods, just like the ones Alia had seen in the hidden lab. Bodies floated in glowing liquid. Girls young, half-conscious, eyes twitching in artificial sleep. Alia walked closer. One pod had a name, scratched into the glass. Elia 27. Her heart stopped. Elia. Her mother's name. She pressed her hand on the glass. But inside the pod, it was her Elia. Sleeping. Exactly like her. Same scar on the eyebrow. Same soft curl in her hair. Same face. Same everything. No, she whispered. What is this? Suddenly, alarms screamed through the facility. Dasha yelled. They knew we were coming. Walls opened. Guards in black suits rushed in, not with guns, but with neural dampeners. Weapons meant to shut down memory and identity. Run! Elia screamed. But before they could move, the lights cut out. Darkness. Voices. Cold hands. Alia woke up in a white room. Chained. But not alone. Across from her sat a man in a white uniform. His face was older, wiser, but familiar. Her stepfather. But this time, he was clean, calm, and in full control. Hello again, Alia, he said softly. She stared. You sold me, he smiled. Because I had to. The first time. Her hands shook. What does that mean? He leaned forward. You think you're the first Alia? Her blood ran cold. You were bred, Alia. Designed, over and over again. 17 clones. 17 failures. You're number 18. Alia screamed and pulled against her chains. You're lying. He pulled up a screen. Her DNA strand glowed. Then another. Then another. 17 matches. All marked. Dead. You were the only one that survived. The only one that woke up with memory intact. She shook her head. I remember my life. My pain. My home, he interrupted. All placed there, carefully, to shape you into what we needed. Alia's voice dropped. What do you need? His voice turned colder. A weapon. Suddenly, the door behind him opened. Sarah walked in. But something was wrong. She wasn't bruised, or tired, or dirty like before. She looked polished, perfect. Alia's voice cracked. Sarah? Sarah smiled. I'm not who you think I am. She placed her hand on Alia's shoulder. You never escaped, Alia. You've been in simulation since the trade. Alia stared in horror. What? This was the test, Sarah said. To see if the final clone could evolve. You did. That's why this room is real. This is where it ends or begins. Suddenly, Alia's veins glowed again. Hot, bright, burning. But this time, she didn't fight it. She let the heat rise. The chains melted. The walls cracked. Sirens screamed. Alia stood up. No, she said. This is where you end. The room exploded in white light. When she opened her eyes again, she was back inside the escape ship. Dasha, Nova, Cyrillin, all around her. All breathing. They stared at her. "You were out for 3 days," Dasha whispered. Alia blinked. "Was it real?" Nova touched her hand. "Some of it was. But we don't know how much." Alia looked out the window. Earth still turned. Quiet. Dark. She touched her chest. Not broken. Not fake. Just reborn. Inside the government lab. The real Sarah watched the footage. "She broke the mind net," a scientist said. "Clone 18 survived full memory warfare." Sarah smiled faintly. "Good," she whispered. "She's ready." Alia stood alone inside the signal chamber. The air felt thick. Like something ancient had just opened. In front of her stood a strange machine. Tall. Silent. Wrapped in silver vines. It wasn't built by humans. Not fully, this device, Sarah said from behind the glass, isn't just a transmitter. It's an amplifier. For what? Alia asked. Sarah's voice was soft. For everything inside you. The code, the energy, the memory, and the pain. Alia placed her hands on the console. It didn't ask for a password. It asked for truth. Connection detected. DNA confirmed. Verity code online. Would you like to transmit? She closed her eyes and said one word, yes. The signal flew, not through the air. Through blood, through nerves, through the hidden sequence sleeping inside thousands of outcast girls around the world. Not heard by ears, felt in the bones. Some were in factories, covered in sweat and bruises. Some were in underground clinics, drugged and silent. Some were in rich homes, dressed in gold, but chained in rules. Suddenly, they all froze. Their skin tingled. Their eyes glowed, just for a second. And they heard a voice inside them. Not loud, not demanding. Just familiar. You were told you were too much, too wide, too loud, too dark, too soft. You weren't too much. You were just enough to scare them. Wake up. In a market, a girl dropped her broom and stood still. Her fingers lit up. In a breeding camp. A child opened her eyes and the tank around her cracked. On a luxury train, a maid screamed as fire sparked from her palms. Everywhere, across zones and sectors. The signal awakened the hidden. Back at the base, alarms lit up. Nova shouted, "Incoming signals, thousands of them." Dasha stared. They're responding. But some of them aren't waking up. Cyrillin, using her mind link, whispered, "They're scared. Some don't want to remember." Alia fell to her knees. Her mind was being pulled outward into a shared dream space. She saw flashes. A girl curled under a bridge. Another trapped in a golden room. One covered in wires. One digging graves. All of them had her eyes. All of them were her. She reached out in the vision. "Come with me." Some reached back. Others turned away. Inside the real world, in a hidden control tower, President Halron watched the chaos unfold. "It started," one officer said. "The Verity girls are waking." Halron's hands shook. "Activate project." "White veil," he ordered. "If we can't stop the code, we erase it." Back at the base, Sarah's voice broke the silence. "They're going to wipe every awakened mind. Kill the code before it spreads." Alia stood. "No." Nova asked, "What will you do?" Alia looked at the amplifier. "I'm not sending another message." She placed both hands back on the core. "I'm bringing them here." Outside, the sky above Earth cracked with energy. Portals shimmered in hidden cities. Girls vanished from camps, from homes, from cages, and appeared, one by one, in the resistance base. Some were confused. Some were shaking. Some were ready to fight. Alia stood at the center of it all, surrounded by faces she didn't know, but somehow already loved. "You weren't born broken," she said. "You were born waiting." But far in the shadows, One girl stood alone. She had received the signal. She had felt the awakening. But she had not answered. Her eyes glowed, not with white, but red. A rejected turned loyal. A spy. She whispered to the air, "I'm inside." Just like you planned. The sky over Neo-Earth turned red, not from sunset, from the storm. The awakened girls had gathered, thousands of them, each marked by glowing veins, burning eyes, and the quiet rage of a life stolen. They stood on the cliffside above Sector 9, where the government tower rose like a needle through the clouds. Alia stood in front of them. Armor cracked, hands still lit with soft light. She had never led before, but today, they followed her. Sarah stood beside her. Her voice was quiet. "They know we're coming. You could still walk away." Alia looked down at the army of rejects. "Walk away," she said, "after they called us monsters?" She shook her head. They're about to learn what monsters become when they stop hiding. Far below, inside the tower, President Halrun activated the final defense system. "Release Echo Line Alpha," he ordered. A code spread through the air, meant to shut down the Verity girls' nervous systems, but something went wrong. The code didn't shut them down. It woke something deeper. The first wave attacked from the sky. Government drones, enhanced soldiers, shock rifles, but the outcasts moved like wind and fire. Sierra Lynn bent the enemy's thoughts. Mitter, Dasha melted weapons before they could fire. Nova touched a fallen robot and turned it against its own army. Alia moved like a living storm. She didn't throw punches. She threw truth. Every time she touched the ground, memory pulses spread, reminding the enemy of who the girls really were. Not weapons. Not errors. Warnings. Inside the tower, Alia entered the heart of the system. The data core. But she wasn't alone. The spy girl was waiting, the one who never answered. The signal. She looked just like Alia, younger, harsher. "You don't get it," the girl said. "Freedom isn't safety. People don't want choices. They want to be told who to be." Alia stepped closer. "And you think the system will protect you?" The girl smiled. "No, but it will protect the world from you." She pulled a trigger. A pulse shot through the room. Everything froze. Alia found herself in a black void. No walls, no time. Just silence. And then a voice, her own voice from somewhere deeper. "You've awakened them, but you didn't free them." Alia looked around. "What do I do?" The voice answered, "Choose what kind of leader you'll be." She returned. The system had frozen for 6 seconds. It was enough. Alia reached into the core, and instead of destroying it, she rewrote it. Above ground, all screens flickered. Every speaker echoed her voice. "You told us we were too big, too loud, too strange to love. But now we speak in one voice. We don't want your control. We don't need your approval. We are not perfect. We are not pure. We are not pretty. We are free." The soldiers dropped their weapons. Some joined. Some fled. Some just cried. It was over. But not quiet. A week later, the government was gone, but not forgotten. The world was broken, but waking. The Verity girls had built no new throne. They built schools. Gardens. Homes. Alia didn't want to rule. She wanted them to choose. She stood on the cliff again. This time, alone. Sarah approached. "They're asking who should lead now." Alia looked at the stars. "Maybe no one." Sarah smiled. "That'll scare them more than you ever did." Alia laughed quietly, then paused. From her wrist, a signal blinked. A new voice. A new code. From outside Earth. From another colony. "If you can hear this, we were rejected too." Alia closed her eyes. It had only just begun.